Okay, we're live on YouTube. Hi, everyone who is on YouTube. Unfortunately, we forgot to start the stream immediately. So the first update that was by Bowen is going to be missing on the stream. It's going to be in the meeting notes, which we will share separately. And let's continue. Okay, Evgeny, are you here? Do you want to give us an update on what's been happening in the TX runtime?
Yes, so on TX runtime, we're still working on upgrading the fees. There was some not blockers, but items that needed to happen from cache compilation or cache of the contract compilations. And also nightly protocol that is almost done and ready to be tested. So this is the new way of releasing it, and we'll probably test it to release. So that's an update on transaction runtime.
Do we have the compilation on deploy shipped?
So this is separate. Right now, we basically just shifting the compilation towards the function call. It also to cache it on disk, because compilation on deploy requires us to already be able to cache on disk. And once this is done, we will shift it to deploy. But the fee upgrade will charge it at deploy time. So we'll need to coordinate two of them. So compilation on deploy is not a protocol change because it's just a node change, while the fee upgrade to charge compilation on deploy is a protocol upgrade. So we'll need to bundle them together.
Got it. Cool. Okay. So next is Node interfaces and Explorer. Frol, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So it's as Alex mentioned, indeed, Node interfaces and Explorer is very tightly coupled right now. We are working on Indexer for Explorer, which means we bridge together the near core implementation of Indexer and the need we have on Explorer. We are in the last stages of getting it to production, I guess. We deployed it for testnet and mainnet, identified some issues, had some troubles with migrations last week, but Bowen and Matt, I guess, helped us to resolve them. We also identified that some of our migrations are taking way too long on HDD drives, so be aware that you probably want to have SSD drive for archival nodes. So there were some just minor issues here and there in the indexer, but overall we are on the path towards getting Explorer better backend, featuring all the data we currently have in the network and having that information complete. Current implementation misses receipts and execution outcomes. And this means that we miss quite a lot of information when things go through cross-contract calls, which are like the main piece right now, because lockup contracts, staking pools, delegation, all of that goes through contracts. So that's initiative that Bogdan Horowitz is working on. And the next thing we are working on the node interfaces part is Rosetta RPC. Still have some issues with like Genesis block. We try to expose it and through a single transaction, but having like 200,000 accounts created in a single fake transaction for Rosetta seems to be way too many. So we're trying to come up with some solutions there. And the JSON RPC is getting more update. On the structured errors side of things, we plan to merge it into like 2 steps. The change will be backwards compatible. So all the current errors which are stringly typed will remain the same, identical. But later on, as a second step, we'll introduce the output in those errors extended with the structured errors, featuring like better programmatic inspection of the errors and necessary for UpLayer to present better errors to the users. And we also had some discussion with Matt about our China deployment. So we have some issues with reachability of our services, RPC, Wallet, and Explorer from China. I had no latest update on that, and I directed Matt to communicate this initiative with Bo and Amos. The last time I've heard that those guys were working on this initiative before. So if any update, you can reach Matt, I guess, or Bo. That's all from Node Interface.
Cool. Oh, actually, we're not doing questions. Are there any questions to throw? Cool. No questions. Kendall, are you here to give an update on the wallet?
Yes. Hey everyone. So today we have we're doing a release on the wallet that includes 3 pretty important features. One of those is going to be staking with unlocked near. Another is partial unstaking, so being able to unstake just your rewards or just a little bit of your near instead of your entire stake. And then a new account creation flow that adds an implicit account funding step to kind of the old flow, and will let anyone create a new account and then easily set up a named account instead of just getting stuck with an implicit account, which is kind of what we have right now. After this release, we're going to take a couple of cycles to focus on a few different bug fixes, better error handling, and improving our test coverage and setting up end-to-end tests. So we've been shipping a lot of features pretty quickly and have a little bit of work to do on the stability side. So that's going to be the focus for the next couple of weeks. Anyone have any questions on the wallet side?
So can you also create an implicit account with the ledger?
Yes. So yeah, right now you would have to create the account first and then add ledger to it. It sort of feels like it doesn't feel like one part of a cohesive flow, but the new flow will let you just set up with ledger immediately, so you don't actually have to have that seed phrase step like you need right now. That was just a temporary one that we released last week.
Okay, cool.
Any more questions?
I heard that some users had troubles with 2FA from their phones. Not sure.
Yeah, we're looking into that. A lot of it, I think, has to do with deliverability of messages, particularly in certain regions. I think China in particular has been problematic. So we're going to look into what the best solution there is. I guess like worst case, we'll probably just remove that option temporarily. Better case, we'll figure out why the deliverability has been unreliable. I saw Henry mention something about the ability to disable 2FA. Yeah, we're looking into that as well because we've had quite a bit of requests for it. So that's probably going to be prioritized in the shorter term.
Cool. Okay. Sandy, do you have an update on what's latest in the infra?
Yeah, I have like a short update for everybody here. So Max helped me out on creating the new on-call schedule. So I just posted a update on the development channel. So please, everybody, update your calendars. I've seen that some people are using the old calendar, so I created a video which maybe of you missed. So I linked that as well on how to delete the old calendar and add the new one. The on-call is not yet created in PagerDuty. I'm waiting for everybody to give like their concerns or something to change, like update it in next 2 days. And then on Wednesday, we should be live with the new on-call schedule, which has full coverage and like it's in the limits we discussed. The other thing is we had like a meeting last week about the RPC stuff. With Vlad and Bowen, and we kind of just went through the unclear things which we had in the team. So I created a small doc, and I'm gonna be sharing it today with everybody just to like have a general overview of like what the RPC infrastructure will look like. And this week we are rolling out CrashNet and BetaNet first with the new Terraform config. And if that goes well, then we're just gonna switch also mainnet and testnet in the future next week after that. So yeah, that's the short update.
Cool. Okay. Alex, are you here to give an update on the VM and Bridge?
I can give an update on Bridge, and I believe Evgeny is going to give an update on the EVM. So on the Bridge side, so there are lots of work on the architecture changes. The repos of the Bridge are restructured at the moment. So some might have seen that the Bridge now is broken and some CI tests are not working. So for now, it's better to just switch off all of the tests. We are also working on the roadmap. We were preparing for the town hall. We wanted to communicate some of the next milestones of the Bridge. So we already prepared it, but unfortunately, the town hall shifted. And our first milestone is going to deploy the Bridge in the closed beta release in the confined environment on the mainnet, where on the like approved accounts would be able to use the Bridge. This version of the Bridge is going to be literally almost the same as the one that we have used for the hackathon, with exception of the fact that we are now like changing, doing the restructuring of the repos and stuff like that. Also, a couple of bugs were found in the Bridge during this week. One of them was a critical bug found by Marcel. He is now working on fixing it. Yeah, and a good thing, thanks to Peter, because he brought to us an additional person from the community. His name is Vincent. He's going to join our team, and he will be specifically working on creating a connector for the native currencies on Ethereum and Near. So Ether and Near will be able to be bridged through our Bridge. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, I disabled the Rainbow Bridge tests today, so that should be
okay
done for Near Core.
Okay, great.
Okay, Eugene, do you want to give an update on the VM?
Sure. So quick update. We have now a few people working on it. So Mike continues working on meta transaction support and EC recover. So he has a version that is mostly working. So he found a library that works on the front end, but we still need to figure out why, for example, Rust cannot parse the account ID out. And hopefully we'll resolve it soon. There is a version that relays meta transaction currently just don't charge for gas, and that's okay for now. And then there's a pet shop example that needs the option to log in and requires to update some README. I was mostly trying to figure out what's the initial scope that we need to target for EVM. And we had a meeting today that we synced on this, and probably will update it later. Bo was working on estimating the EVM transaction cost, pretty much mapping between Ethereum gas and our gas, and how the transaction size influence our gas, for example. And he making a good progress, and Now he achieved less than 10% volatility in gas costs when estimated. And also he's working on test for balancer contracts in Truffle, and there was some issues that were not there before, and we're trying to figure out why they started to happen. And we have a new person, Arto, who is experienced with EVM, and he will help us on updating our EVM implementation to latest, and also help with like details on EVM. So that's an update. And we'll probably either this week or next week start to move forward on finalizing the PR for EVM to be merged into master using feature flags that Bowen introduced that will allow us to have EVM in master while not active for main protocols, but be behind the compilation flag. And we plan to release it to BetaNet, which will be eventually quite often forked in case we have a breaking change. So instead of working on upgradability early on, we go with the original flow where we can fork a protocol instead. Just for beta.
For
Yeah,
BetaNet,
yes.
I just have a question. Like, is it gonna be changed via flag, or it's gonna be compiled into the binary?
It's a compile time feature flag.
Right.
It's a compile feature flag as well as a protocol upgrade feature flag. So they are basically, once we stabilize it, we'll have to make it fully just upgradable in case we need to support a version before the EVM and a version after EVM in the same binary. But originally it will be just one flag that enabled through compilation. So we don't need to upgrade it and think about how to support two versions at the same time.
Okay, cool. And then yeah, then nothing else has to be done on our side. Maybe just add the flag. Thank you. Cool.
Cool. Any questions? Okay.
About the volatility of the fees of the EVM. So I'm out of the loop on this. Did Bo manage to reduce it to near zero, or it's still around like 20% of some of the operations?
Oh, it was down to 10% after Bo included the input towards the arguments. So once you account for the size of the arguments, the volatility got under 10%. So it's pretty much acceptable. We still need to like do some research on this, but
I see. So is his work on the fees, like his pull request, is now unblocked to be merged? Like we can just go ahead and merge it?
Bo, you here? Can you comment on this?
So for the volatility numbers, it's based on like 2000 accounts results, because I haven't run 200,000 account for many times, since every run takes like more than 2 hours. So from that, it's like less than 10%. And from our for like 200,000 account, I only tried a few times. They look pretty stable, so I assume it's also within 10% if I run many times.
So are you confident that it's now stable and we can merge this change?
I'm quite confident, but to be more safe, I can try run a few more times on 200K accounts.
Okay.
Like it takes up 2 hours to run, so I will likely only run 3 or 4 times today.
Sounds good. We can run on multiple machines. Not a big deal.
Yeah, that's going to be faster.
Cool. So I believe this was all the projects. Did we miss
Contract
anything?
runtime.
Contract runtime. Okay, that's my bad. Let's do contract runtime.
So Nikolai is having whiteboard session right now. So he cannot be here. I'm gonna give a quick update. So one, what Eugene already said about the disk compilation, which is the project shared by contract runtime and transaction runtime. So Nikolai, managed to get it to the end, I think. So right now it's all working, and he's even disabling the other cache which we have specifically for WASM, which now becomes useless. So we have a cache there that just caches the WASM bytes, and now there is no point in it. So the other thing is that Willem was able to fork some of our dependencies and make our near core compile with stable. And so once he publishes a couple of crates to the crates.io, near core will be compilable with stable. And we're gonna change everywhere to compile it with stable, which is great because we used to have some issues with Nightly in the past.
Stable Raspbian, right?
Yes. Then he also made a bunch of progress on the cross-contract testing. So he's in the loop with Mike, Chad, and whoever else is using, talking to our partners, collecting the feedback. And basically right now, most, if not all of the contracts actually work with this cross-contract testing. And there are like some small fixes, and Eugene also suggested that we introduce a special compilation flag to all our contracts so that when you test them, you also need to pass this feature flag, because right now we guard it with, we basically use whether WASM or x86 is the platform, we use it as the implicit feature flag for the tests. And Eugene suggested to make it more explicit, which is how it used to be at the very beginning. And then I thought maybe let's remove it. But if people say this is better, then we should obviously put it back.
Wait, can you elaborate it? What is this flag guarding?
So right now, yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
actually think we should guard contracts instead of tests. So basically, when we compile contract, we can instead say we only need this dependency and that dependency, and we don't really need any test logic in a contract. Or we can even remove, for example, debug info or some other stuff later on with the same feature. So it kind of optimizes for contract compilation instead of including extra logic. And that will, so right now, near SDKRS, for example, depends on some near primitives from near core, and they have a lot of dependencies. So once you just uses only types that you need from VM logic, that brings down compilation time to something like 5-second code. So you don't need any cache, and because of how small it is. And it just helps to guard it when you don't need to compile it for testing. And when you compile it for testing, you can compile with all the other flags. So it's outside of near core. It's only for near SDK-RS and compilation targets of near SDK-RS.
Is there, do we know how much small, does that make the contract smaller, and how much smaller? I think the community would be really curious about that.
They don't make it smaller. They Rust optimizes compilation pretty well. So it's mostly just compilation time of libraries that are not used.
Cool. Okay. Are there anything else is there anything else we want to discuss? Going once, going twice. Okay, thanks everyone.